Salam, Queen of Queens, Phenix, Ramadan, LJackson, welcoming you back to the Jackson green light. Joyous, blood, full moon, lunar, total lunar eclipse in Aquarius. Thought I'd do something different. Okay, this is the Aquarian style for the new age, right? The new age Aquarian style is do what you want to do, be who you want to be. As long as it's righteous, right? As long as it's divine, right? Okay, and it adds to it supports the collective, right? Well, it supports your goals too, but the divine of healing and, making the world a better place, right? Because this is Jackson's Aries. This is Jackson Aries green light. Oh, and condolences to the Jackson dynasty for the transitioning of their patriarch, Joseph Walter Jackson, who transcended beyond death, right? To the life beyond death, and to the life beyond death. So, as I said, joyous, blood, full moon, lunar eclipse in Aquarius. Tonight's video conversation is regarding the why the attack on 9/11, right? Okay, so every 2,000 years there's a change in the celestial age, right? So we went from Pisces to the age of Aquarius. Well, the 2,000 years is measured based upon the 2,000 years that the prophet Isa walked the earth. The prophet Isa is known as prophet Jesus. Now, again, you can translate the J into an E or I, and you have Isa. Okay, Isus, but it's really Isa, right? So the timeline is based upon his first coming, and so they say that's around 2,000 years, because every age a teacher is sent, a messenger was sent. But of course, after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there are going to be no more prophets, other than the return of what the prophecy, the return of the one born of a virgin, right? Which is here, right? Okay, now, so the timeline of 2,000 years in Pisces, right, was measured upon the first virgin birth, right? So the second, so that would be the 2,000 years of Pisces. Now, when there's a new age, that would be the age of Aquarius, right? And so the 2,000 years ended in 1999, right? The new age was to begin according to the Christian calendar in 2000, year 2000, right? So, of course, the prophet they expected the prophet to return in the year 2000, because that was going to be the beginning of a new age. And so the attack on the world, which occurred on 9/11, right? September 11th, 2001, occurred to prevent it basically was preempted strike on the prophet born of a virgin, right? Because what does it say? It says that the prophet would end the reign of the Antichrist, right? And the Antichrist would be waiting for him when he's born, right? According to the prophecy of Revelation 12, right? When the woman gives birth, the red dragon, which is red shield, which represents Rothschild Zionism, would be waiting. And who did the 9/11 attack but the Rothschild Zionists, right? The Rothschild Zionists did the attack on 9/11 in conjunction with the Rothschild Wahhabists, right? Rothschild British Wahhabists and Rothschild Zionists, those who are in occupation of Hijaz, known as the Saudis, right? The Saudi dynasty, or Salman Saudi dynasty, and the Zionist Party, Nazi Zionist Party, because that's what Nazi means, National Zionist Party, the National Zionist Party that are now in control, are in occupation of the Holy Land, right? Of Jerusalem. And what did it say? The Antichrist would be trying to take over Jerusalem, right? And what did the drunk try to give them but the capital of Palestine, which is Jerusalem, right? So that's obvious. The drunk is in bed with the Antichrist, right? So they expected the prophet, you know, born of a virgin, to return in year 2000 and destroy the reign of the Antichrist. But the reign of the Antichrist was falling, right? Because it was a new age coming. A new age was dawning, the age of Aquarius, right? So their commercial world was going to, their commercial market, everything about the world would be changed, right? Because the age would change, and with the new age comes a new energy, a new consciousness. So the commercial, the Rothschild, who controls the, you know, central banking systems, right? So their commercial world was going to, their commercial empire was going to collapse anyway, as it's doing right now, right, with the collapse of the dollar. And who was going to inherit that market? But what? The Muslims, right? Islam, the East, right? And when it's said, when Prophet Isa returns, okay, he would be in Islam. He would be a Muslim, right? And what happened in 2011, right? 10 years after the preempted strike, right? Before he arrived, right? There was in 2011 there was the lights, the spacecraft that appeared over Al-Aqsa Mosque. Al-Aqsa Mosque is in Jerusalem, the capital of Palestine. And that was symbolic of the light returning, the Christ consciousness returning, right? So Christ has returned, right? The Christ consciousness has returned, and Christ is here, okay? So, as represented by 2017, the Revelation 12, right, with the birth of the child, right, the male child, right, or the birth of the child, right, yeah, the birth of the male child who will be caught up to Allah, right. So, let me put this here, my little jewel, it's falling. Anyway, oh, I could put it here. So anyway, so the birth of the Christ child, right, would be born, right? And well, as I said, we had Revelation 2000 and Revelations 12, 2017, right? So we have all these miracles basically taking place, right? We have all these end time prophecies that are currently taking place, right? That are unfolding, right? And so now with this total lunar eclipse, right? That's connected to the great American eclipse, right? And that occurred over a total eclipse over America, right? Is this eclipse represents a change of the age, right? So that it is guaranteed that America is going to change, right? So, and what's going to happen? The collapse of the dollar is going to guarantee the change of America. So when the dollar collapsed, okay, they didn't want the Christ consciousness to rise, right? So they declared war on Islam because the Muslims are going to support the prophet born of a virgin, right? They're going to support that prophecy because Muslims, you know, alhamdulillah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, are expecting the return of the prophet born of a virgin as well, okay? So, so the Antichrist, the red shield, the dragon, right, wanted to interfere with that and destroy the new consciousness prior to its growth, right? Right. So destroy, the Muslim countries or the Arab countries before and under the guise of ISIS, right? or not under the guise of ISIS, but using ISIS, Saudi funds and Saudi well, basically Saudi support, and the terrorists that come from the Al Saud regime that is sent into Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Yemen to basically destabilize the area, blame it on Muslims, destroy the Muslim countries. You have a cycle going on, and Americans not care, supposedly because what the Antichrist is doing, because they don't know he's the Antichrist, first of all, but they think, oh, they did 9/11, so we're defending ourselves, right? Okay, well, in reality, it's not defense. It's attack on the prophet born of a virgin prior to, his becoming established in the world, right? Or prior to Islam, him establishing Islam, the Christ consciousness in the world again through Islam, right? Because it said that the Christ consciousness at the New Age would go into the house of the water bear, right? So when the New Age comes, the water bear is the age of Aquarius. That's the Zamzam well, right? So they would go into to Islam. That's where the Christ consciousness has gone, right? In the house of the water bear, right? In the house of the water bear, right? Right. Okay. So yeah, so that's what they were trying to do, right? And then use all type of social disruption, right? Social anarchy between cultures, right? To stir up social, like I said, to stir up civil war in America, right? Among the different cultures, right? So that was the plan to keep Americans occupied, create war overseas, in foreign lands, and then create civil war in America, and no one would be the wiser while they're trying to occupy or create genocide in Palestine and take over the Antichrist, take over the Holy Land. The Zionist Antichrist take over the Rothschild British Zionists take over the Holy Land, right? And deceive Americans, right? So in reality, racism is the breeding program of the Zionists, right? Because it keeps Europeans breeding with Europeans, Africans with Africans, Mexicans with Mexicans, keeps everybody, all these subcultures segregated from one another, right? So and then they can create classism within them and allegiances to themselves, right? So that's the game there. Racism is a breeding program, okay? And by the Antichrist, it's the breeding program of the Antichrist. And for those that continue to support it, right, like the Nazis and the KKK and all that, well, they're just part of the Antichrist, right? Just part of the beta Caucasoid, beta Gentile junk male, right? Who support the fascist corporate culture of death, right? Okay, so the 9/11 was a preemptive strike, okay? And because they were aware that the celestial age was changing, okay? And each age represents 2,000 years. Therefore, 12 constellations you have 24,000 years, right? Now, also, there's going to be the polar shift, right? Going from where the sun will rise in the west and a magnetic pole shift, right? Sun will rise in the west, right? So that in itself will also destroy the old kingdom, right, of the last 24,000 years, because once time, starting in Aries, right, the first constellation, or known in the Bible as mansions, right, mansions in the sky, mansions in the heaven, 12 mansions are in the heaven, 12 constellations, right, starting at Aries being number one house, right? So each age lasts for 2,000 years and goes all the way to Pisces, which would be the last 2,000 years to 24,000 years, right? Then the sun will go, I mean the time will start to go backwards from After the 24,000 years, then it goes back, ends in Pisces, and then starts again in Aquarius. And that's where we are in the official age of Aquarius, 2,000 year age of Aquarius, going all the way back up to Aries. But it's going to take 24,000 years to do that cycle all over again. Then the sun will rise in the the east again, okay? Because every 24,000 years it shifts, right? There's a magnetic pole shift, but the Zionists, the British Zionists, didn't want to tell humanity that. They wanted humanity to get caught up in civil war and foreign wars, and then the polar magnetic shift and the collapse of the economy. So there would be sheer chaos and panic among the people, where they would be, just basically killing one another. And as I said, and then civil war in America. Okay, so, and then that would be what? A great depopulation for them, of the masses of the world, right? Okay. And then they think they would rebuild the world with all this so-called new technology of what? The Aquarian age, right? Right, okay. So humanity has to be smarter than that and stay united, right? Okay. So the new age is starting in the 11th house, okay? The 11th mansion in heaven, the 11th heavenly mansion, okay? And it was marked, the new age was marked when Uranus went into Aries, the head, because each constellation represents a part of the body. A body of man, the body of heaven. Aries represents the head. Taurus represents the head too, but parts in the head, right? Then you have other constellations represent other parts of the body. So when Uranus, the electrifier, or the awakener, went into into Aries, the constellation, the mansion of Aries, right? The first head, it woke up the consciousness of man, and that's where we are. That's where we gone through the awakening, right? So now Aries is in another part of the body, right? Another part of the brain, right? That's considered another part of the brain, which is Taurus, right? So that is about grounding the new consciousness, applying the new consciousness to your consciousness and making it a part of your life, so that when this new consciousness, Christ consciousness, or when Uranus shifts into Pisces, right? Not Pisces, but when Uranus shifts into Gemini, which is on the mutable plane, then the Earth will change, right? The Earth will change, and all the physical aspects of the Earth will change. The physical aspects of the body will change, right? The human body will change, right? So that is where we are right now. Conscious change first, getting prepared for the energy to be received in getting ready for the energy to be received in Gemini on the mutable plane, so it will come to Earth and begin to physically change the aesthetics of the new Earth, right? And get everything in a line, because everything is being aligned on the to the global, not to the galactic plane. Yeah, everything is being galactic axis, right? So everything is being aligned on the galactic axis. The planets are being aligned. Everything is being aligned. The consciousness is being aligned with the galactic center, right? The pulsation, that energy that comes through the galactic center, right? So the consciousness is changing. The planets are being aligned, right? So that everyone will be able to receive the energy, right? Those who have done their conscious housekeeping, if you will, right? Those who have purged the negativity from their soul, right? Those who are more positive, okay, and willing to embrace the universal consciousness, the Christ consciousness, right? That is embraced in Islam, right? And Islam means peace, right? You cannot follow what they tried to scare you and make you think. Those terrorists, that done 9/11, yeah, they were from Saudi, not Hijaz. They were not Muslims. They were Wahhabis, okay? They were the Wahhabis, Okay, and you can you can learn about Wahhabism, right? Okay, and the Wahhabis are the greatest enemies of Islam, and they were killing Muslims, right? Burying them, women and children, in mass graves, right? In Syria, in Iraq, okay? But they didn't bother the Zionists, and they didn't bother to get rid of the occupation from the Holy Land, which is the Holy Land is the Holy Land is important for Muslims, for Jews, Muslims, and from Jews, Christians, and Muslims, right? But as we said, Jews are Christians are Jews, right? As mashallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I am a Hebrew, and my ancestors were Hebrew Jews, right? And because there was a new consciousness that came into the Holy Land through Prophet Muhammad, whose lineage go back to Prophet Abraham, through Ishmael, right, and Hajar, right? So there was a new consciousness that came through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it was the same consciousness that was given to Prophet Abraham. So now my ancestors that remained in the Holy Land after my ancestors were brought, my Hebrew ancestors were brought into slavery in America and the West, right? So, and then their spirituality, in order to steal their legacy, their Hebrew identity, was changed to the plagiarized version of Christianity that was given them, their English King James version of Christianity, right? Basically making him a prophet, right? And the Hebrews, Jews who were brought here and enslaved in America and the West, their Hebrew identity was usurped and used in order for the Zionists to occupy the Holy Land, right? The Antichrist Zionist dragons to occupy the Holy Land, right? Now, so, and as I said, the lights over Jerusalem in 2011 marked the return of the Christ consciousness, okay? And it was placed in the mosque. The Christ consciousness went exactly where it was to go, in the mosque, right? To be protected by Islam, okay? Okay. Let me see. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Okay. So, and stealing attempting to steal the identity and culture of the Hebrews who were brought from who were descendants of King Solomon, David, not Yahweh, but descendants of Dawood. That was what David's name was. King David's name was Dawood. In order to steal the legacy of the descendants of Dawood and King Solomon, they when they brought them to this so-called New World, right, to enslave them, but basically really to take their identity. The slavery was secondary, but they wanted to take their identity. That was the main purpose of bringing my ancestors, my Hebrew ancestors to the New World, and to steal their cultural identity and give them Christianity, King James version of plagiarized version of Christianity, and then when the time came, send them back to the Holy Land and fight for the Antichrist, as to support Zion, fascist Zionism. Okay, and Zionism, as I said, represents Nazism, right? If the Zionist Party is national, it's Nazism. It represents a national Zionist party, and Zionist party is a political movement to take over the Holy Land by the Rothschild beast, right? Now, and what did they do when they brought the Hebrews to this and enslaved them? shackle their mind, right? They shackle their soul. So the consciousness continues to be shackled, okay? The consciousness of the Hebrew in the West, well, some of them, not all, continues to, those who call themselves Christian, they're really Hebrew, and many of them came here as Hebrew Muslims, right? So in order to overcome the effects of slavery, having been enslaved, the African Hebrews must return to their roots. You have to return to your root consciousness in order to overcome this in slavery, the act of slavery, or the shackles. In order to remove those shackles off the mind, one has to return to the roots. Don't try to live as use your wealth to whatever income you have to support the Zionist commercial Rothschild dollar or the market. Let it fall. The Palestinians must continue their fight to return, their right to return home. Must continue the right to return home. If you don't fight to return home, who's going to fight for you? Okay? Continue your struggle to return home. It's your land. Alhamdulillah. Not the Rothschild, not the Antichrist, British Zionist Antichrist, red shield dragon, who's out to destroy the consciousness. That's why they wanted to go, as I said, they went into Iraq, they went into Syria, they put the Wahhabis in Syria to destroy Yemen, and then they want to go into Iran, right? Because they want to destroy the legacy of Prophet Muhammad, and which is the legacy of the prophet which is to be inherited by the prophet born of a virgin. The legacy of Islam is to be inherited, the legacy of Islam and the legacy of Judaism and the legacy of Christianity, as it was Orthodox Christianity in Ethiopia, and the kingdom of Solomon is to be inherited by the prophet born of a virgin. That is why that when he returned, because he has returned, right? As shown by the light over Jerusalem, right? The light returning as humanity goes through the tribulation, because Allah won't leave Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't leave his humanity in his believers in the dark without allowing them to know what is going on. Okay, so humanity will know what's going on and keep them in the light. He has shined the light, returned the consciousness to let them know which direction to go, to keep their mind focused and unafraid and courageous and brave, okay, and let them know he is still with them. They are not alone, right? Humanity is not alone, okay? The prophet born of a virgin is with you, okay? He is with you, okay? Allah has sent his sword, okay? And the sword is in Islam, mashallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to which the Antichrist fears. That is why he had his brutal attack on Islam, killing men, women, and children. And that is why they're killing men, women, and children, and keeping the Palestinian people in concentration camps, placing their children in dog pound-like facilities, caging children in dog pound-like facilities, prisoning women and reporters, and shooting reporters, and using their military might to kill, using live rounds to kill Muslims or young Palestinian boys who are trying to defend themselves with slingshots, right, against this dragon, this Antichrist, right? So Muslims, not Muslims, but Hebrews in America, not black people. You're not black. Stop being black. Black is not a country. Black is just the color. Black is not even the color of your skin. It's your hue is brown. Hue. That's why it's a Hebrew. Okay, a Hebrew. A hue. You're of hue. Okay, that's why you're not. Your skin is not even black. Now, saying black is proud is great. Alhamdulillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Black is beautiful, mashallah. But the fact of the matter is, your cultural and spiritual identity is Hebrew, of Judea. Okay, Hebron and Judea and Jerusalem and Bethlehem. That is your cultural heritage. You've got to claim it, because as long as you're running around talking about you're black and they beating you down in the street, while those who steal in your identity are calling themselves Semitic and protecting themselves under law, under anti-Semitic laws. If you're a Hebrew, you are the Orthodox Semitic Hebrew, and that's what you need to maintain. So when they ask you what's your cultural identity, or you're black, no, you're not black. You're Hebrew. You write down Hebrew, Jew, Hebrew. One and the same. Okay, and as I said, the prophet born of a virgin was a Judean. He was a Hebrew. He was of the tribe of Judah, which is which represents the rising of the tribe of Judah. This blood full moon, total lunar eclipse, right? Over total lunar eclipse, right, in Aquarius, represents the rising of the tribe of Judah, the lion, right? Because the south node is in Aquarius, where this moon is shining, right, guiding us to go to the north node, and the north node is in Leo. Leo represents the tribe of Judah, the Hebrew tribe of Judah, the tribe of King Dawood, which is David, the tribe of Solomon, King Solomon, right? And even the star of Dawood, which represents the two triangles, the capstones intertwined, the male and the female, the king, the queen, the return, the king of the queen, right? The prophet born of a virgin, alayhi salam, that's returned, right? And the Jackson Global Pride, right? To lead the Jackson Global Pride, right? So, following the legacy of a king, a Judean Hebrew king, right? A Jew, not Jewish. Jewish is kind of like, okay? Jew is a Jew, right? Born of Judea, a Hebrew, right? So, now as I said, so Christians are Jews. If you say you're Christian, you're really saying you're a Jew, right? You've been accepted through the prophet born of a virgin, right? And not only that, but Islam, because the prophet's going into Islam. Islam came for everybody. Musa came for the Jews. Prophet Isa came to teach the Jews, to bring them back to the light. Islam came to embrace everybody with the same religion, the same teaching, the consciousness, the same light that was given to Musa, Abraham, and all the prophets before that, which were all descendants of the other, right? All related to the other. So Hebrew people who consider themselves black have to remove the shackles that is shackling them to the color of a crayon, basically, or a tire, or a refrigerator, or a stove, or any type of appliance, right? You're attaching yourself to a color, like the King of Kings, Michael Jackson, said, don't try to label him black or white. He's a human being, okay? So you're not, you're a Hebrew. That's your culture. That's your cultural identity. That covers your ancestors. It covers your spiritual history. Everything. Black does not, and that's why they treat people who say they're black like nothing, because just being a color is to be nothing. What does it say about the whole nation of black people, right? Where do they come from? And then they say they come from Africa. Where? Where do black people come from? They don't come from nowhere. They have no history. They have no language. You are a Hebrew. Stand in your dignity. Be proud. Be honored to stand in your dignity. Take the shackles off your mind, okay? So the Nazis want to deceive humanity. They have the Christ consciousness, and they seek to destroy the prophet, the consciousness of the Christ, right? They want to destroy the Jews, as Hitler tried to do in killing 6 million of my ancestors in Germany, as what was his name, Pontius Pilate or one of the ones tried to kill the prophet the first time, right? And they persecuted the Jews and those who followed the Jewish prophet, right? They prosecuted them and fed them to the lions. Now they want to get rid of the third Christ consciousness, right? They try to get rid of that too by trying to make you think the Muslims are terrorists. Muslims are not terrorists. Remember, Alhamdulillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this would be considered like a burqa style, and in the culture they would wear the burqa across their nose, just as men wore the I forget what it's called, on their heads to keep the sand out of their nose and their face, right, and out of their mouth. So they covered that part because they were desert people, right? And those traditions continued in their religion, right? And covering their hair and all that so the sand wouldn't get in their hair. But it's also for modesty as well, to protect one from the negative energies that all around from touching their skin and then affecting them consciously. So clothing protects one from negative energy, right? Okay, so the burqa is nothing to fear, right? They want you to think, oh, it's just so dark, and women are oppressed to wear it. No, women are not oppressed to wear it. Women wear it because they want to. They want to stay close. They want their energy to stay positive so that they can receive the positive energy and then manifest their daily needs by staying close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the provider of the sustainer of humanity, right? So they made the strike on America, and that strike on America was hatched by the Zionists. I'm talking about Rothschild Zionists, and he was president in New York when the World Trades went down, right? He was staying in a hotel watching it happen, right? So they hatched that idea to bring down the World Trade Center. They needed an excuse to attack 10 countries, right? North Korea, China, Iraq, Iran, and they're working on Pakistan, right? So they can steal the Holy Land, right? And all those Yemen and Somalia, and just try to wipe Islam off the map. When it's the Nazi consciousness needs to be wiped off the map, and Palestine needs to be free, right? Palestine needs to be free of that scourge of Zionism, fascism, that culture of death, right? They need to be free. The Antichrist needs to be out of their land, right? Killing their children and imprisoning them in concentration camps, right? So they needed an excuse to invade these countries, so these Muslim countries, and kill them, basically, create genocide like they did in Herzegovina and Herzegovina. And all those European Muslim countries, right? That were genocide was used against them when Yugoslavia had civil war, right? I think it was back in the 80s. I think it was back in the 80s or 90s. I can't remember. But nonetheless, it occurred. The genocide occurred in Europe to try to remove the influence of Islam, right? So that when the Antichrist began to try to take over the world, he would not have any opposition, and the prophet born of a virgin would not have any support to assist him in removing the Antichrist, the remains of the Antichrist from humanity, from destroying humanity's life with the support. Okay, now, so, now, as I said, the red shield, right? I mean, the red dragon. Rothschild represents, as was known as the red shield. He's the red dragon, the reptilian, right? The alien, right? That are occupying the Holy Land, and they're trying to make you think that, it's the Muslim. Another thing, too, we're going to go, okay, I'll just say this real quick. The trillions of dollars that have been lost from the, from the budget in America, the American budget, right? Trillions of dollars just missing, vanished, right? And the gold that was missing in as a result of the 9/11, right? That was missing. All that went to prop up the Zionist Antichrist that is occupying the Holy Land, right? So that's what's going on there. So I'm going to say Salaam Alaikum. Salaam Alaikum Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Salaam Alaikum to the family of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Salaam Alaikum to the Sahabas. Salaam Alaihi Salam. Salam alaikum to all the prophets. Salam alaikum alayhi salam. Salam alaikum to the Sahabas radiallahu anhu. Salam alaikum to the Ummah. Salam alaikum. Salam alaikum to my father. Salam alaikum to Hamza. And salam alaikum to my love, the King of Kings, Michael Joseph Jackson. So, and salam alaikum to all my ancestors. And salam alaikum to you. I love you. Okay? So that's that. Salam alaikum.